So hello everybody, welcome to the reading that I'm doing for today, December the 2nd, 2022. So I think this is going to be a kind of a reading for around December time now, but it's also going to be a little bit of an update energetically as well. So welcome to those of you that haven't met me before. My name is Angela. I've been doing readings for many years, and and I love doing this work. I love doing my healing work, and I love helping people. And as always, with any of the messages that I get from Spirit here, you decide what fits right for you. You'll know what resonates. Your body's your best psychic tool, so please trust that. I'm a big believer that people should be able to make these kinds of decisions for themselves. So before I start with the Kali card, because I feel like she really wanted to make a bit of an entrance in this reading today, few bits of housekeeping. So I've had a few people ask me about readings, and I don't have my website up and running, even though I've been saying to people for about 3 years. I had a couple of websites there for ages, and then I think because I've gone through such a metamorphosis in my own life in the last 5 years, it's been impossible to build a website that's reflecting where I am, because I'm constantly changing. I've just finally figured that out. So I will be opening up readings for the new year, and I will be doing a very small number of year aheads. They take a long time for me to do. But there'll be more on that later. In the next couple of weeks I will have my website built. I've just got to sit down and do it, but the energies are right now for me to do it. So what else do I want to say? So welcome everybody. It's lovely to have you here with me. And what am I working with today? Well, I heard lots of different energies around December. I do think it's going to be quite an internal month for many of us. I think a lot of people this year are going to feel very different about Christmas. I think they are just going to be happy to just be with people that they love and not have a massive event. I think other people are just going to go nuts and splurge because it's made them think life is so short, why not? And kudos to both of you, whatever camp or whatever belief that you have around Christmas. I'm actually feeling this year that Christmas is a sacred time, and I'm going to be treating it like that. I'm going to be really having some restful, really beautiful rejuvenation time with Spirit. But what they will often say to us is we have to let them in, we have to let them help us. And that means not running around after everybody else, not fixing everybody's problems, not being really energetically available for people. And I don't mean that in a negative sense, guys. What I mean is that to really connect with them on a deep level, having a bit of space, energetic, environmental space to do that, but also having to be free of distractions. It really benefits and enhances the process. So let's begin. So lots of you might notice around me, I've actually got a white salt lamp here. You can't see it, but it's on the side here with the camera, and I've got loads of white crystals, lots of selenite, lots of white candles, because the energy that I've been getting around this coming out of Scorpio into Sagittarius time is there's been a lot coming up for clearing. Many of us, yourself included, that are aware of energies, that are aware of spirit, you're aware of a higher power, and obviously whatever you believe in that's in that vibration of love, please, you're so welcome here. Is that there is definitely a spiritual war going on at the moment, which is light and dark, and we're seeing that playing out at the moment. Spirit had said this year, for those of you that have watched my readings before, most of my readings will have been previous on my Facebook page or my group. Before I set up YouTube, I had a YouTube channel for years. I just didn't put anything on it, and they had said this year that there was going to be more and more information and light being shed around children, and where children are needing to be protected from certain areas of life where they're being exploited, where they're being trafficked, where they're being, you know what I'm saying, you know what I'm talking about. So we're seeing this with the fashion brand at the moment, who it's been a big furore in the news about how they have put out pictures of children, and it's just, I don't even want to go into it because I don't need to. We all know it's not even dysfunctional, it's actually evil. I don't even want to say it's sick. I just think when somebody's so perverse that they want to normalize that they put that out and they think that's normal, needs to take a big long look in the mirror at themselves. But actually, when you're seeing these kind of energies at play, they're not the type of energies that would do that in the first place, because you wouldn't do that. You just wouldn't do it. So we're seeing now this energy around what people are willing to do in the name of promoting, say, a luxury brand or the shock factor, to actually use children like that. And there is, and what I would say around this, and obviously if you don't want to listen to this part of the reading, you don't have to, but I think a lot more of it's going to be uplifting because of the cards that they've chosen. They're all light cards, Priestess of Light, work your light cards. It was all about bringing light, lots of white light around this. It's really it's part of the steps on the spiritual path to work with the shadow, and we have to be willing to see our own shadow first and then see the collective shadow. And this is a moment in time where we are actually seeing the collective shadow out there big time, because brands like this don't exist unless people buy them. And what's interesting is some people have actually been completely unaware of what's really been going on underneath and behind the scenes, and the energetic and frequency vibration of certain products and services and affiliations of groups and associations. And I've known this has been coming for a while, because Spirit had said earlier this year around watch around this, around children, like they said about the cryptocurrency, and then they said look at currency around the full moon in Taurus, which was last month, and then the FTX went down. I actually thought they were going to be talking about dollars or pounds, because my I know nothing about cryptocurrency, but actually it was about something I didn't even know about. And even the man's name is ironic. It's like, it's so in plain view what a lot of this stuff that's happening. But the thing is, again, what I would say to you is don't get too concerned about people that want to keep their head in the sand, because all they're doing is they're delaying their growth, and maybe they won't ever grow, and that's fine. But there is a kind of sadness to that for me, for them, because it's not about understanding all of this and breaking it apart and becoming obsessed with it and trying to obliterate it. The way that we break the spell of this evil and darkness is we talk about it and we out it. So, because it needs to feed on people's fear. It's feeding on control, fear. It's all the aspects of life that are inverted from love, from support, from communication, from sharing, from trusting, from loving, from being compassionate. So actually, to counteract anything, you do the opposite. And that's what Spirit wants us to do, is they want us to not fear these things, but to talk about them, because it almost like eliminates the spells and the programming, is what they're saying. And actually, we're so much more powerful collectively. And there is this big cleansing that's going on, even in our elemental energies. So, many of us are looking at our water supply. So we're seeing very much how we've had this in the UK recently, where they're putting out raw sewage into the seas and the rivers, and they've been doing this for years. But thankfully, there's been these groups and charities like Surface for Sewerage. I think they're called. I support them. They've been bringing this plight to light for a very long time in order to protect people from going and swimming in places which, quite frankly, are not safe to go in. So we're being asked to look at, to cleanse, body, mind, heart, on a micro and a macro. So where we're seeing on our micro might be with our relationships, with our food, with our diet, with the quality of our drinking water, with the vibration in our water. If you're interested in that work, look at Dr. Imasaru Emoto's work. It was incredible around the energy of water. So when we take that water into our body, we are ingesting that frequency, and that will ultimately change our energy and our, how we feel within. So there's a lot going on in the micro, but also on the macro, so that we're being asked to look at, and it's all happening simultaneously, this cleanse, and it will carry on going for a long time, but we are getting now really into the thick of it. And the thing is, the subjects and the areas that are coming out are not comfortable, and they're not the things that we don't want to look at when we're coming from a place of love. We don't, because what it does is it highlights what evil does actually exist. And I think I would always be personally wary of anybody in the spiritual community that isn't willing to talk about things that aren't great in order to transmutate them, because they're spiritual bypassing, but also that you have to get the balance right. So you've not got to get obsessed with these areas of society, and because you don't want to be taken down with a sinking ship, is what I'm hearing. But I'm guided to talk about it because Spirit are asking me to talk about it, because it's how we heal. Is we come together and we send light where it's needed, because part of this, almost like this fear aspect, is it pits people against each other. I said this year, like 2-3 years ago, when the pandemic first started, I talked about the divide and conquer. It's one of the oldest psychological tactics that can be used. So you do the opposite to that. And what that does is that obliterates that energy of being in separation. It's been hard for people when we don't agree. But actually, it's even better to disagree but not get into the argument, because somebody's not ready to hear what you've got to say. They're not receptive, so it's a waste of your energy. But you can still send love to the situation, and you can send hope. And that itself can change the energetic vibration the next time that you meet that person. It's a bit of a long-winded energy, but this was very much under this theme of when Carly said it's clearing the swamp time. It's coming up more and more now, and it's going to be more and more obvious, and it's in plain sight, and this is what we're seeing now. But we're also seeing where the whole celebrity aspect of how it ties in with them, and how people are willing for whatever, what price, who's bought them, basically, how much is your price, which is how Caroline Myss talks about the prostitute archetype. It's nothing to do with being a sex worker. It's actually the prostitute archetype is what price do you have? So what am I willing to sacrifice in order to not be in my truth? And for some people it will be a price, it will be monetary, it will be, well, I'll just shut up and put up because you're paying me a lot of money and I'm being told for my brand how to protect it. And actually, it's important to know that those people that don't do that really have got so much self-respect, because a lot of people have sacrificed a lot and have lost a lot for not going with the narrative, which has roots in this energy, guys. And the thing is, sooner or later, some people call it the matrix, a lot of people wake up from it and they realise how it's all interlinked. And the thing is, once you are on this spiritual path, you get to a point where there's that potential for mastery. And part of mastery is learning that you cannot be bought. There's no pride. Like, of course, you need to protect your family and your home and your income. That's within means. But when you know that Spirit has your back and you'll always be provided, you don't need to go down that route. You don't need to go down it. Right. So I'm going to start with this Kali card, which is Nitya Kali, which is actually really beautiful. So this is like the flower of life. And if I'm not mistaken, the sacred geometry symbol in the middle of the flower is called the Sri Yantra card. And I want to say that this card for me is about like going through a portal an energy portal. So I asked Carly, I pulled this card before I started, and I said to Carly, what would you like us to know for December? So this is about the card, and I'm using the book here because the amount of work that Alana Fairchild did with these cards is phenomenal. And this is about being called away from the world to journey inwards where a path of sacred introversion beckons. Turning within may feel natural or unfamiliar, but in journeying within, you will gain energy, insight, and freedom from the constraints of what has been. Allow that which needs to end to do so. You shall realise you are not being denied, but released. There is something new on the horizon. Honour your losses, but keep hope in your heart for what is meant to be. So what I want to say here is it's like December from the Carly perspective is it's going to be a month of integration. There's going to be a crumbling away for some people of the past, which is actually probably good news for some people. It's like maybe those memories that were plaguing you over something, or there's like something imprinted on you and you've still got some pent up emotions around it. There's going to be a really great opportunity to allow those to be released and cleansed this month. Maybe you've had betrayal and disappointment or confusion. You've got this, it's like a power center and activation this month of being able to move through it, which is wonderful. So it's like a space for higher understanding, healing, and even forgiveness and gratitude for what has been learned can open up. Peace and release follow, and soon after a readiness for the new. So you see why it's like integration, because it's very much like, there's a time sometimes where we need to look at what we've gone through and see it in a different light. So that partner that betrayed you actually helped you to say to yourself, I'm going to speak up. I'm not going to put up in my next relationship. Or what it might have shown you, the learning and the lesson throughout that process has been integrated, and it might mean you know what you want now. You really know that you want what you want. And sometimes people enter into relationships because it's there at the moment and they think it feels right and they don't know any different. But that relationship was right for them to learn. But it's ended and there's nothing there anymore. And actually part of the process is to be able to co-parent in peace and understanding. And that person, through maybe the lack of communication, say in the relationship, has helped you to understand how to communicate to get your needs understood and heard. So again, nothing is ever lost. That integration phase is just as important before we move forward. Otherwise, what Spirit is saying to me is we kind of attract something in on the tail end. So if we're rushing and we're pushing, and obviously we've all got human free will, and we go out there to get something that we're not quite ready yet to do because we've not energetically integrated it into our system, and we've not just got that, that light bulb moment where it just drops and you just go, aha, I've got it, I've really got it. And then we're on that karmic merry-go-round. I feel with this, there's going to be a lot of people this month really feeling like they've got off that karmic merry-go-round with some people in their life. It's finally ended and it's really free. And for some people, for a small amount of people listening to this reading, I actually feel like you're preparing for something quite big in your life, and you couldn't do it with all these distractions of people pulling on your energy, of just wanting stuff from you all the time. You'll be thankful for going through this portal of peace and quiet. Because Christmas is really a sacred time. It's where the Christ consciousness energy, and it's nothing to do with religion, guys. Jesus Christ was a living healer on the earth. He had a life contract which was about showing people what divine love actually meant. And he did that through his healing, through his ability to forgive and accept people, faults and all. So we can really learn from this time. I think this is why the Western world, it's very much about gift giving, isn't it? Because it's, for some people, it's their language of love. And again, a lot of people feel a lot of love by going out and buying things that they think, God, if I bought that for somebody and I know they need it and they'd really enjoy it. I mean, that's an act of service and love, isn't it? So We all express it in different ways. So that's a Nitya Kali card. So thank you, Kali, for that. Right. So I'm now going to start with the astrology cards, the Black Moon astrology cards, and I'm going to ask Spirit now to please bring through any messages for us around this time. What would you like us to know? Right, so they're saying to me to talk about the full moon in Gemini. So the 8th of December, about just gone 4 o'clock in the morning GMT time, we have a full moon in Gemini. It's around about 16 degrees of Gemini. Now, what's interesting with this moon, as soon as I tuned into it, the first thing I got was it's going to have a lot of trickster energy. Gemini rules the house of communications, siblings, local neighborhood, messages, what we receive from information out there. And I don't know why, I just got this feeling like Gemini is the twins. It's got two sides to it. It's got two kind of personalities. Now, Mars, the planet of action or passion or drive or get up and go, it's going through Gemini at the moment, and it's going backwards through the sign. So it's getting a redo over Gemini. So, how we relate to information, how we act on it, how we communicate, how we react to when somebody's saying something to us. That's really a very basic way of breaking it down. It's going backwards. So it's whenever a planet is in retrograde, it's having a bit of an upgrade and it's having a redo. And in this particular time period, it's going through Gemini for quite a few weeks. So, and I looked at the signs today, and I think Mars is in Gemini today at 18 degrees. Now this full moon on the 8th is going to be at 16 degrees. So when a planet or two planets are within 2 degrees of each other in a sign, it's conjunct, which means they're basically on top of each other. They're like in top of each other, even if it's a slight degree away. So that will almost fire up. It will heighten. It will bring in an energetic response and reaction when they are close together. So I feel like we're going backwards in action. I just feel wires are going to get crossed around this full moon. All I heard was it's a trickster energy at play. So the trickster energy is Hermes was the god of travel, wasn't he? And he's got this trickster energy. And again, travel and comms is all Gemini energy. And I just feel around this Gemini full moon on the 8th of December, you might see another side of somebody that you haven't seen before. Or you might see something you don't like. You might, what I would say to you around this time, especially, is just not to really personalize it too much. I would also not take a person's word for it around that time, because I feel like the energies are going to get a bit misconstrued. And also I feel a lot of people you're going to see a lot of people saying stuff they don't mean, or you're going to see a lot of things coming out and you're just saying, oh my God. And we're actually seeing it at the moment with certain people in the public eye, just talking absolute nonsense. That's that kind of Gemini energy, real wire crossing, but emotionally just not being in balance. I feel like this full moon, it's just got a real trickster side to it. So just not to take anything as a given around the full moon. Just let the energy clear, let what needs to come up to clear, and then maybe have that conversation or talk to somebody. I just think it could be quite reactionary for people. I'm not going to take that card because I've not asked them. Right, so what do you want to share with the Spirit, please, for December timeless reading? What would you like us to know? Aquarius, I know, and destiny. Right, okay, that's interesting. So we're going to be going into Capricorn time. So in Saggy now till 21st, 22nd, which is quite, so this almost like insular energy going into the internal castle that's us in our soul. It's not very, like Saggy energy is very action orientated, but actually Saggy is the spiritual teacher. So there's something around this internal dialogue that's going on with all of us. and this internal time that we're being asked to take, which is actually going to release some information, some knowing that you haven't got before, and it's to do with your tree of life here. It's to do with where you're going next in your life, and it might surprise you what that's going to be, guys, because I just feel, yeah, it's something new's coming in, but it's bringing in stability. So we've got Aquarius, I know, destiny. But I just feel that there's a surprise element to this, because Aquarius is ruled by Uranus. And Uranus is like, again, it can be trickster energy, Uranus. But it's also like bolts out of the blue. But this is next on your soul path, guys. And so the 10th house is about career. It can be honours. It can be how we shine in the world. So you'll find a lot of people in the public eye will usually have quite a few planets. Yeah, planets and signs. Not signs, sorry, I'm talking about, get my words mixed up. Planets in this house. Or they'll have a sign that rules the house, so has the rulership of their 10th house, which is usually like Leo, or it's like a public type sign. It's got that drive to be out there in the world. So there's something about closing off a cycle. It's going to be closed this month. It's going to be different for everybody, guys, in a collective read, so I can't intuit that for everybody. It's bringing in massive change. So I think, okay, right, so the new moon in December, which I don't know what the time is, it will probably be about 2 weeks after, so 14th, around about the 22nd, 23rd of December, there will be a new moon in Capricorn. I'm sure it's Capricorn. New moon in Sagittarius. What do we just have? I'll have to check that, guys. But there's another new moon coming in December. Now I'm actually getting, because 10th house is collectively in astrology, that for me is a Capricorn card, the 10th house. So this is in the time of Capricorn that this change, there's something that you might have been asking for stability maybe in your career, or a job offer, or even monetary, and the stability is going to come in, but you're going to get inklings of it. It might not be overt until next year for some of you, but I actually feel like this is a destined change coming in for lots of people here. And for other people, this is going to be very much to do with their soul path, actually, and what they're next here to do. Again, it could be that you might be guided to do a route of study, and somebody offers you a discount on a course or a free course. And actually the course that you wanted to do, which you're just being blocked in proceeding on, or whatever it is, it's just not opening up. And you don't know why, and that's the answer is why, because there's something else in place. But I feel this is something that we all don't know at the moment. So I feel there's things that are going to open up for people, that you're getting a heads up this month, but it's going to come in this peace and quiet. It's not going to come in with you rushing around, or, you know, being that carer and that, you know, fixer of people's problems. No, it's going to be a month for many people this month of self-care, but I'm really deep rest. And you say that to people now, and there can be a bit of fear around this, because they're still associating that quiet with lockdowns. And what you need to know with this is that you always have sovereignty over your choices, guys. Even if it means you have to leave a career, or if you are forced to do something against your will that you don't want to do, that's not sovereign. So that means that career or that place of work or where you are is not right for you, and there will be something else. What happens a lot of the time is people go, oh, well, I had no choice. You always have a choice. You always have a choice. And I think a lot of people are going to be waking up to that as well this month, where it's like, right, okay, I need to now make some changes. because the choices I'm going to make now have to be really solid and not based, and they have to be in complete alignment with my soul. And when your choices are in alignment with your soul, they're sovereign. And you don't need to get permission from anyone or anything outside yourself to make that decision. But it's difficult because you see a lot of people don't understand that with sovereign choice, they think it's not that it's sacrifice. Sometimes you will be asked to make a sacrifice, but to go against your intuition, it's very expensive, guys, not only in some cases for people's health, but for their well-being, because it always comes with a big lesson attached to it to show you where you weren't honest with yourself, because then when the next time that comes along, you'll never ever do it again. And I don't mean that in a controlling way, guys. I know my language probably has not been great there, but it's just how it works. It's energy. Energy doesn't lie. Right, so for December, what are the messages for us in December? Pillar of light. Your vibration is rising. You are the oracle. Again, this is sovereignty. It's like massive message all year, all throughout my readings, been guided to talk about sovereignty. So what they're saying here is there is something coming in. We are really being guided. Many of us that are aware, we're energetically aware, we're spiritually aware, whatever you want to name it, is that we know when something feels right and when something doesn't. That's what the last 2-3 years has actually just solidified for many of us, that our intuition was right about everything. And we don't need validation from that from anyone else, and we don't need to prove it to anyone else. We're living it. And what that's doing is, and this has got nothing to do with these cards, by the way, but these cards have really brought out something I just need to say, which is that there is actually a separation between groups of people as well. And I don't mean this in a negative way. What I mean is that there's people moving out of our lives that are just not resonant. Because as we grow and we evolve and we go on our destiny path and we follow it, there comes a point where sometimes the frequency will change. And if we're living in truth and somebody doesn't want to live in truth, we can't always live side by side, because there's always going to be a friction, which means that there's an element of us having to be right. What I'm getting around this is quite interesting, and this is a message for somebody. So what ends up happening in that dynamic is we end up having the other person will project stuff onto us, because every time you show up in truth, they can feel it. They can actually feel it. So any of you that are healers, you'll find that you'll have this effect around people, and it's not because you're doing anything wrong, it's because your energy is pure. So what happens is when you're around people not in that, they almost have to act out, or they have to be a false mask, or they have to justify a lot of their decisions to themselves in order to be where they're at. And sometimes that can be at an expense of the connection. But there comes a point where in any relationship or connection with anyone else, we have to be able to speak our truth and it not be a threat to another human being. And the only reason somebody would feel that threat is because it's a reaction to them, because they are being, there's a reflection and mirroring that's going on where light's been shone, where they're not being honest with themselves. So there just becomes this kind of, and I'm not saying this, like there's situations where we just part because the job's done, soul contract's over and whatever. But I actually just feel energetically that many of us are finding our right places in groups, in connections with people. I don't know about you, but this year I found myself connected to some groups online actually that I love. and people have different opinions, but they are like next level for me. I'm learning from them, which has been really great for me, because they're showing me different interpretations of the same thing, but they're all right. They're all truth. It's a bit like, if I showed you this candle here and I show you one side and then I show you the other, we're all going to see different shapes. We're going to think it's a different size. We're going to even see different like lights or energies emanate from the flame. Like, none of them are wrong. But what we'll find is that it's just when we're at a different vantage point, we see things in a different light, but we're still shining light on it, but in a different way. So I feel I also want to say with these cards, Pillar of Light, and you're already doing it, is that you might feel this month that nothing's happening, and it's because you're meant to be in this integration phase during December. It's not going to be an outwardly action-orientated month. Unless you've set it up that way and it feels right to you, then it's right. Yeah, the crumbling and the great gathering, that's so funny. So the crumbling is, what are you clinging on to in the great gathering? It's all coming together. Intuitive hits, soul tribe, exactly what I was saying. We're all joining the dots of people. I mean, there's people that I've never personally met, but I might know them online, or I might be in their group and whatever, but I feel I know them on a soul level. And everything they share, it's not done in a preachy, teachy way. It's always done in a, God, that's so helpful. Thank you for sharing that. But also, I just feel like it's really supportive, like these communities are supportive. So again, the crumbling, just let it all go. There is definitely a crumbling of what doesn't belong anymore. And the Age of Light, so this is like such an Egyptian card here. This is like ancient wisdom. So I'm not telling you anything here, guys, that you don't know already about. You will know what's, I don't even want to say if you're clinging on to stuff, because I'm not getting this energy from us here. I just feel we're going to see this out there. I think we're going to see a lot of people clinging on because their perception of safety is better the devil you know than the one that you don't. But actually, it's now time to stare it in the face and call it out. Because can you see, like, she's got this massive protection of light around her. She's in a pyramid. She's in a pyramid of light. Again, step up your protection right now, guys. I've had mine up now for the last few weeks, and I've noticed certain spiritual teachers getting attacks in that area. So, putting on the armour of God is a really great way to do it. I think there's a prayer online you can find to do that. There's also, I think in my last video at the end, I think it was my last monthly video, I did a short protection prayer. I've been using that every day. I need to still do it again. It's on there. Have a look at it, and it just means that, as you're vibrating, you're it's like a moth to a flame, isn't it? That light is going to be very attractive to people who need healing. But this isn't a month for us to be going out healing people, guys. That's people's personal responsibility. This is time to get ready for something big that's coming in your life, and for some people it's going to be different, but for a lot of people it's going to be what you're here to do. It's your career, it's your role in service. Yeah, again, deep replenishment, retreat, rest and be held. Spending time in water, around water, in stillness, in places where you feel held. That Council of Light card now has come up 2 or 3 times on the bottom of the pack, and it's a bit like, your light team on the other side are here to help you with this, guys. It's definitely guided. Right, let's do some Priestess of Light cards, and then I think we're done. So what are the messages, please, and the Priestess of Light cards, please, Spirit? Thank you so much for anybody listening. Any direction of time, timeless messages. What they're also saying is that this quiet space, if you take it this month, what you're going to find is there's going to be a lot that's going to come into your vantage point. You're going to receive a lot of information about how to solve things in your life, but also, like, how can I describe it? Like, for instance, crystals to work with, herbs to work with, healing methods that you can work with on yourself, that you can practice with. It's a real time for inner exploration, they're saying. What it's going to be able to do is it's going to be able to awaken a lot of your latent gifts, what Spirit is saying as well, that just don't get a look in Western life. Messages from the Priestess of Light, please. Thank you. Right. For some people, I'm hearing also the past wounds of Christmas and loss can be healed around this time. Twin flame cards come out. So, like, whereas, like, maybe if you've lost somebody around Christmas time or you've had bad memories, there's going to be time to make new ones this Christmas. And what Spirit is saying is just start with the basics. What do you want to do on the day? It might be just have a cheese and tomato toast it and sit on the couch and watch back-to-back reruns of something and just give your whole day a whole new meaning. But it's all about making a sovereign choice. And actually, what can be really beautiful about Christmas is the quiet. There's not many people on the roads. There's not, the services aren't running. So there's less ambient noise, if I can call it that, subliminal shifts. It's like there's a peace to the day which we can all benefit from, like deep rest and deep healing. That's where the pivot happens. It's a bit like we integrate, we let go, we surrender. There's nothing left, we can just be. And then before we know it, the next phase of our life is beginning. And for some people it will be relationships, because the twin flames cards come out. What's this twin flame card come out for, Spirit? What's this about? Clarification on the twin flames card. Cards don't want to come out. So for the twin flames card, please, what is the clarification? What is this about? Well, for some people, this will be an internal job of recentering themselves during the month of December. For other people, it's going to be moving on. And actually, what I'm hearing for twin flames is that some twin flames, one of the twin flames had an opportunity to come forward and make amends. This will be for somebody specific, and they didn't take it this year. And what they're doing is they're plugging at them, almost like they keep showing like a backed up pipe, and it's like, it's not going to sound great, but they're constipating their own life and moving forward. You don't have to be in your relationship with your twin flame. The pull will be there. But with your divine counterpart, there will always be somebody in waiting to come along. And what Spirit actually showed me was somebody of a higher altitude. So they're at a higher vibration because they've done the work, and then you have. But if your twin flame doesn't want to move forward with you, they'll send somebody else in that will. And actually, it won't have maybe the difficulties that the partnership of the twin flame has, because it does. It's there to bring in the healing that you want to do in this lifetime, and you can still do it yourself. You don't have to have your twin flame to do it, but most of our brilliant healing lessons are learned in relationship. But what Spirit is saying is that it's just there's gonna be a moving on for some people around December, and how do I say this? The divine counterpart that didn't want to do what they knew they were meant to do. It's going to be, I get a feeling of regret around it. They had an opportunity to make it right around December, to just, well, actually, I heard this earlier on this year that they had an opportunity to make it right, just to seal off that chapter with love, and the other twin was holding that space for them to come in. But I feel that portal is closing now. Yeah, Phoenix rising. One of the twins might be moving on. There's nothing wrong with that, guys. There'll be a divine counterpart coming in. Anything else around this? There's just a real, letting go, cleansing and receiving. That's exactly what I've been feeling. But again, there's so much like stubbornness with one of the twin flame partners, because it's like, I just won't do the work. I won't suck up my ego, my wounds, my fear. It's like, oh my Lord, it's not meant to be a twin flame reading. Yeah, hostilities, conflicts and unrest. They thrive in that energy, innovation, and they have the opportunity to innovate and come out of it. They've got the luminous life force and the personal power to do it, but they've chosen not to do it. And just this will be for only for some people, guys. It won't be for everybody. Yeah. So the other twin has set boundaries. They've had this feeling that they were coming forward to plant something new. It doesn't necessarily have to be with a twin. You can still live in appreciation and love for them, but it doesn't mean you need to be together. And it's brought up a lot of feelings, and actually the other partnership, the other person now is not willing to hold space, to the point where it's self-sacrificing and it's ruining their opportunities for growth and new love, because they want to plant something new now. They're ready. They're ready and they've done everything that they can, but whatever their twin needs to learn now, it's up to them. It's just what I'm getting here. Yeah. Miracles, ancient wisdom, sacred breath and sound, life force and communication, ancient wisdom. I feel like there's going to be more etheric communication with the twin flame energy this month. But I also, for anybody that doesn't resonate with the twin flame energy, what I want to say is the divine masculine and divine union. If I read these cards with that, let me just pull these apart. There's something coming forward for you. There's something coming up that's to do with your soul path that's brand new. So there's an integration for many people in December around their feminine and masculine. It's finally coming together for you. They're like you're in relationship with yourself now in a really balanced way. And because of that, you're ready now for something big in your life. Phoenix rising is burning everything down to the ground and creating something beautiful and new from the ashes, because it's innovation. It's something you've never done before, or you've never done it in that way, but there's ancient wisdom attached to this, because I feel this Age of Light card has come out with this. Touching earth and deep emotions. Yeah, this is something that's going to be very, very close to your heart. It could be music for some of you. It could be new work. When I think about one of my lovely friends who is a very talented musician, some of his work is incredible, like who he collaborates with. Like, these people just channel music. And he played some music for me, was it in August when I saw him, and it was just like, I was just in a trance with it. Like, well, I wasn't, I was just sat there just because I love music. And it was literally like, oh my God, I've never heard anything like this before. And it's like the woman was channeling, I don't know if she was singing in Arabic but it was just like, it was like next level. And it wasn't like something, you know, to shock it was just so healing. It was like she was just sharing her beautiful gift organically. And he's really good at doing that. He's really good at, and he explained to me, like, they all go in the studio and what they do is there's something, there's an alchemy that happens when they're together. So it's a bit like when you do I'm not going to compare myself to this, but like, say us readers, we do we don't know what's going to come out. We just allow what wants to come out. It's such a creative process the higher mind, the higher learning. It's the same with a modality like music. They sit in the studio and then something magical happens. Isn't that, it's just so amazing. It really is amazing. Right. So it's a bit like, you know, something's coming, or you know something, you need to clean the slate. You need to clean out distractions. You need to just be. You need to be in that peaceful space and quiet, because something's coming in and it's big. So the setting boundaries in there. So it's like, no, you know, like, it's like, you know, when people send you messages and it's like they dump, or they'll send you all these problems and you're like, well, what am I going to do with that now? So there's an inclination sometimes to respond because you're concerned and you care about your loved one. This is not going to be a month for that, guys. It's going to be a month to be like, you know what, if you want to send me that message, that's absolutely fine. But I'm not going to explain why I'm not going to respond, because I've got big things to do. It's a bit like when somebody goes in to write a book. They have to be quite disciplined. They have to have the time and the space and the energy to do it. And they can't do that if they're running around town with, my mum used to say, every Tom, Dick and Harry. That's so Irish. Every Tom, Dick and Harry going here and there and everywhere else. There's something about energetically clearing this space this month for all of us, because whatever we are here to create, it's getting a real green light around this time. I'm just going to pick one more astrology card. What's the last message, please, for us all, Spirit, before we close down? Cancer, I feel. It's going to come through your feelings. They're making me laugh because they're saying that card they threw out before was all about this. It was the 5th house and creativity. So this is something very, very close to your heart. Yeah, sensing, water element, Cancer. It's going to bring in an abundance of opportunities. For some of you, it's going to be something that you're going to be able to do from home. It's very close to, it's very much, what I want to say with this is, even though this is not the 2nd house, that I'm getting with this 4th house roots, is you've already put down the roots for this to bear fruit. I just keep seeing like somebody about to write a book or to create something, and they've got the tools to do it. Like, it's all in there. It's all in your energy. You already know it. You've actually just got to do the work now and sit down and do it. And part of that process is having the discipline to shut out the noise and the distractions. But before you almost start, I feel like before this download comes into you of whatever this is, you need to take this space to integrate everything you've learned. And what's interesting for some people is it's going to bring in a significant partner in your life. But I also feel that, so if you're single, 7th house is marriage and partnership. But this is also business partnerships. So there's going to be a lot of collaboration of whatever it is. So again, I know this might sound a bit sketchy, guys, but remember, we're all in different areas of life. Some of us are writers, some of us are readers, some of us are teachers, some of us are musicians, some of us are artists, some of us are hairdressers. I always call like hairdressers hair artists, because I just feel like my hairdresser, she's so beautiful and she's so creative, and she's just really good at doing hair. Like, I just don't think people get credit sometimes for these things that they do where they help people to feel beautiful and good about themselves. Like personal trainers, like, you might be really mastering what it is that you are offering as a product to your customers, and you might have found a sweet spot that you're really good at. It might be like you're really good at working with a certain age category that want to lean up, or they want to build muscle. Like, some people are good at, the bodybuilding side. Other people are really good, like you can work with a trainer who's really good at leaning out your body. I mean, it's a real art form. And that in itself helps your posture and whatever. Some people might be working with posture. Some of you might working with post-natal pregnancies. Some of you might be working with people that have had injuries, or people that have they've got challenges. Like, I know somebody that teaches yoga, and she works predominantly with people who are either they use a wheelchair, they use walking aids, and she's incredible at doing it. She does yoga with people lying on the ground. And I mean, that's because 20% of yoga is asana, the rest is philosophy, how you breathe, pranayama, how you live, and what you do, the choices you make, how you treat other people, the different limbs of yoga. Right, guys, I could sit here and I could talk to you forever, but I'm going to go because this Taurus, it's around tea time and she's getting hungry. You don't ever want to deal with one of my lovely people. I won't mention names, but she always laughs because she's a Taurus too. And when I said about you don't want to be dealing with a hungry Taurus, she burst into laughter because we're exactly the same. Like, we are quite we're earthly creatures. We like our food, we like our little treats and our luxuries. What I am going to do is I'm going to start doing some of the astrology readings. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to how I work, because if I try to emulate what other readers do, I'm not being true to myself. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to read for the astrological energies as and when I get guided by spirit. And I'm just going to let them bring through whatever they want you to hear. So then what that does is it's going to help you explore that energy around your sign in wherever it is in your chart. And I feel these are more spiritually based. But listen, if anybody wants me to do singles readings and things like that, I'm happy to tune in. I'm happy to give it a go. My work tends to be based upon, that really helping people to help themselves, to really live a great life, because, the greater the challenges, I just think the more rewards to be reaped. And I think the most inspirational people that I've come across are those that have gone through the biggest challenges in life. So I'm sending you all my love for December. I will be back with some readings soon. I haven't done readings for a couple of weeks and I've really, really missed them actually. But I'll just come back and I'll just put on whatever I'm guided to by the guides, and you can always put in the comments any suggestions, anything that you want to hear or listen to, that I can bring through for you to support you on your path and your journey. So tons and tons of love, and enjoy the reading, and I will speak to you soon. Take good care of yourselves. Bye bye.